So let's start with the first sloka from BPHS Volume 1, Gajananam. Who's going to do it? Or shall we all do it together for a change?
Yes, Guruji, that should be really nice.
Will it look like one? Noise? I don't know. We'll try. Okay. Gajananam Bhuta Ganati Sevitam
Kapita
Pita
Jambu
Jambu Falasara Bhakshitam Umasutam Shoka Vinasha Karanam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam. Actually, we should also learn and memorize this from Brij Jataka, Murtitve Parikalpita Shashabrato Vartama Punarjanmana. It's a very nice. Anybody know something anything special about that? That one stanza in Brij Jataka. It'll end with Strailokya Deepo Ravihi. You are the light of the three worlds. So what are the three worlds? If you say you are the light of the three worlds.
Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, and Swargaloka.
Where is all that under the sun? Aneka Kiranaha Strailokya Deepo Ravihi. You are, Aneka, infinite rays that flood our three world. What does that mean? Can anybody guess? If it was within the solar system, the NASA or people in that field must have found where heaven and hell is, right? Or is it something?
Your inside world, your external world, and the world beyond, Guruji.
Yeah, so there'll be many ways to look at it, right? But please remember, the best way to understand human life is to think that heaven, hell, and earth is all in the same place. Okay.
Is it past, present, and future?
Maybe yes, also, because this Trinity is very divine. What do you think about the trident of Lord Shiva? What is so special about the trident? But we have these three. Can somebody help me out with where can you connect the threes in whichever way you want? Something to do with divinity and three.
I knew it at some point, Guruji, but I forgot.
Yeah, whatever comes to your mind. You don't have to make it so scholarly. You just say some random statements. Like if somebody said past, present, future, and they all start with the letter P or F, which is Saturn's Akshara. Past, present, future. The question is only about what is your past, what is your present, and what is your future. But then the word present has more of the pra sound, right? So it's always in the present we experience everything. The price. Okay. Anyway, coming back to the topic. What is the topic? I mean, this will be more like a typical satsang. Okay, more like a typical satsang. We'll use astrology sparingly today, but we'll connect it. Obviously, as astrologers, we can't stop, giving solutions only from astrology angle. It naturally comes to us. How to remove problems and be happy. Have you heard of this? People always saying, be happy, be happy.
How you heard of this? How you heard of this?
Pardon me?
Be happy, be happy.
You heard this, right? People saying, be happy, don't worry, be happy.
Guruji, the three gunas, when we talk about the three.
Three gunas. Okay, three gunas. The sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, right? So maybe it refers to many things that the sun illuminates all that. He is the common thing between all the three states.
Nothing is new under the sun.
Huh?
Nothing is new under the sun.
Nothing is new under the sun. Okay. He has seen it all, right?
I Googled Guruji. Sorry about that.
That's
But
okay. Yeah.
the trident is the three nadis, Ida, Pingla,
Okay.
and Sushma.
So there are several ways of looking at, all the symbolic, the inner meaning. So how to get happy? Simply be happy. Tell people be happy.
I think Guruji, being happy should be about serving others, like
Uh,
removing their obstacle.
Okay.
Or I feel happiness is when you are in alignment with whatever your purpose of life was, say if from the chart perspective or from your heart perspective. Those are the only two times when I think there's genuine happiness. Either you're helping someone or you are fulfilling your purpose and your duty of this life.
Guruji, if we take Krishna's perspective, Krishna said that detach yourself from the results. Like, we are constantly acting. We are creatures who act all the time. Whatever we do, we act. Even if we do nothing, we are acting. So as long as we can detach ourselves from the result, because results are never in our control, then I think the person can be happy. Only when we are, desiring something, we are expecting something, that's when the problem comes. And the expectation is from the attachment. Like you do something, like you want to become a strong chess player. And, the desire, the expectation. So some people will only be thinking about being a grandmaster. They will not do what is required today. So the result should be a consequence of right actions. And the way to do that is by detachment. So detach yourself. Don't worry about, becoming a grandmaster. Instead, detach yourself from that and do the action. So when you do the right action, the consequences, you'll become a strong player. You'll become a grandmaster.
Guruji, sorry.
Yes,
a brilliant moon in your chart, and I think you'll be happy, no matter what, despite all the philosophies.
That's true.
I mean,
Okay,
we can read and say all these great things, but in reality, we expect and we go crazy when things are not fulfilled. And I don't know anybody except the real saints living in places we can't even reach who can devote and not expect the results and live without all those things said in Bhagavad Gita. So if we can find a way to manipulate the moon, please let me know.
Someone who has an exalted moon and he doesn't care about anything that has happened to him. I mean, many bad things have happened, but he's always cheerful and he is going forward.
In Mahabharata, who is the one who's always smiling?
Shri Krishna.
What is his nakshatra?
Rohini. I'm a Rohini nakshatra.
Oh, so you're getting excited. Okay.
So you're getting excited.
So Rohini is right in the middle of, Taurus, the exaltation sign of the moon. So that proves, but Sri Krishna himself did get upset at certain times. Not that he never got upset. Okay, I want to tell you one thing about all this advice. Like somebody said, the philosophies. In astrology terms, which planet can afflict the moon, thereby giving the maximum unhappiness?
Rahu.
Saturn.
And
Rahu, Saturn. One of them, right? Okay. You feel one of them can make it, can make a person.
Ketu also to a certain extent.
Ketu also, Guruji, yeah.
So out of the many grahas, are you all okay with this? That it is only the nodes and Saturn?
Yeah. Not Sun, Guruji, right?
Not Sun. Okay.
Yeah, because I have a sun, a moon together, and I haven't gone crazy except when Rahu played its colors. And I have a Taurus moon in Rohini Nakshatra, so experienced it all.
Suppose a person committed murder, okay, and then he goes to jail. Let's say the sentence is, as in India, I think 7 years or I don't know, 10 years. And he's in prison. So how to make him happy?
Can you repeat again, please?
Anybody can say what I said?
The happiness comes from within. We can't make somebody else happy. They have to.
No. Can somebody repeat for my sake? Because she asked me to repeat. So can somebody repeat it for me? What I just now said.
So you said that a person is in jail and he sentenced a murderer, probably sentenced for 7 years in prison or 10 years in prison. How
Yes.
would you make such an individual happy?
Yeah, that now that he is in prison, you got to make him happy. How do you do that?
You tell him one day he will be out and
He'll be happy.
Sir, surrender to the God's will. Surrender yourself to the God's will because he committed the crime and he got the punishment. So he should be happy because what he did.
So what is God's will? The murder is God's will.
Because he did the crime.
That's what is the act of murder. Can you say the murder itself is God's will?
Everything is a God's will. So
how many of you say the murder itself is God's will?
No,
Murder is his karma,
murder
Guruji.
was his karma.
His karma.
His karma, yeah. And now that he has faced the punishment, which is confinement in this case, so Saturn, he has two choices. He can continue to resist it or he can surrender, like Aarti was saying. But
No, he may try to escape from the prison, but nobody is going to let him. Even if he makes it out, gets out, they will bring him back. So you go back to the same point. So to such a person, how will you say be happy?
and recover, yeah, heal from inside.
Yeah. How do you do that? You just go and give him a lecture. This is how life is. You got to.
Guruji, becoming spiritual is more, can bring happiness.
Okay. So you teach him, you take him through the knowledge, right?
Yes, sir.
Then he'll become happy.
Only if he's willing to.
Only if he's willing to.
Guruji, a lot of times these murderers, they actually find more solace after they go into prison, because some of them had never had like a stable home or predictable food. And they finally find structure. There is a schedule in the prison and you have to do tasks and you have to go for prayers. So sometimes that actually helps them discover and realize that, like life can be more predictable and structured. So that gives them happiness, the structure in life.
What type of a murder scenario was committed? Was it because of habitual offense, or was it because of a spur of the moment decision out of rage and anger? Rage and anger, that can be counseled. But a person who has been committing this sort of a sequence, the serial killers, then for them, this is just another act. It doesn't have any great significance. So it all depends on what sort of a background the person is coming from. And if he is it's because of spur of moment, then we can counsel him. And we can also use this and teach him to come out of this, make him happier, but not immediately, Guruji.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it also possible that person has Rahu and Mars together?
I mean, we don't have to go there, but
Sorry.
maybe he's a psychopath. Anyway,
So what makes him unhappy? Like he did a crime, that's why he's unhappy, or he went to jail, that's why he's unhappy.
Could be both. He might, like, for example, when Kishore said, was it spur of the moment? He made a mistake and is repenting. Like I told you, right, when we went into the prison once, I met an IIT student who told me, I spoke to him and he said it was spur of the moment I did it. Today I repent for it. Every day I'm sitting here and repenting for it.
Yeah.
Guruji, I always wanted to, when you mentioned this, right, I always wanted to go to prison and find out the stories behind all these serial killers and all. I don't know why. I just keep thinking I should get a chance to go and interview them and find out why they did it, because I feel that there is something strong that makes them actually go and take a life of a person.
It could be dangerous. It could be dangerous. It's like trying to find out why the lion is killing everything, and you want to go and talk to the lion. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you're a doctor and you have valid reasons and you are doing a PhD in psychotherapy or something like that, and you get special permission from the government, you can go and interview and learn, come out with some ideas.
Right.
You know, all that is possible. It's been regularly done, you know. But the point
there
is
some Netflix documentaries also, Guruji.
Okay.
Like, you know, people who have gone and interviewed these killers.
Shubha ma'am, what is aspecting your 12th house, or do you have any grahas like Rahu in the 12th? Maybe.
No, I have Virgo, 12th house is Virgo, and I have Mercury in 12th. So Mercury in its own house. I was going to come to that. Is it the planets that are placed that make me keep thinking about this?
So Guruji, were you going back to the repentance thing that you were saying? Do you think happiness is, I mean, it's not happiness, but is guilt or penance, is that what will give that person some satisfaction if they do something to take care of that penance?
We took the worst example of jail, imprisonment, the typical Saturn place. But there are other similar Saturn places that can give us happiness, like ashram, like going to a place where, like Sai Prabhupada said, do not get attached to the results. And that makes you very happy. It's actually a very interesting concept, that you really don't have to think about the results, and the results are automatically there. I don't know how many of you are going to believe when I say this. I never actually looked into my mark sheet at all. Never. So I won't even bother in the first place. So what? I didn't know about the consequences. That is one of the reasons. But what I used to think was, anyway, it is there. Why are you in such a hurry? My schoolmates will be so much tense. Tomorrow it is going to be published on the notice board. We have to go and see. I'll say, anyway, it's going to be there. How are you going to change it by your anxiety now? Even when writing exams, it's too late for you to be frightened about it. It's already done. You can't change it today. So be happy and write the exam. But this doesn't work all the time, because you will be caught in situations where you can't take life like that. There will be different situations for different people. So maybe I was not tense with this, but I would have been tense with something else. Whereas my classmate is not tense with what I am tensed with. And in that area, he will be very happy-go-lucky guy. He will not be bothered. So it all depends on what is called something to do with our past life, our karma. So it's not so as easy as you think. Something from the past life is on. It's continuously coming behind us. Like what does they say? There is a term for it, like the Damocles sword. It hangs on your, above you like this. So which of the grahas, of all the grahas, which do you think might be so much connected to guilt? To guilt.
More adjectives for guilt, maybe. Guilt. Ketu, because it's spiritual and makes you introspect. I have first house Ketu. I'm always guilty. But now I'm in Rahu Mars, so I want to kill everyone who messes with my mind.
Saturn, Guruji.
Saturn is probably remorse, right, Guruji? Even I was thinking Saturn, but that's more like not guilt, but more like I don't know how to differentiate. But
if moon connected to Saturn, then that person maybe often feels guilty.
Yeah, that's the truth. The highest afflictor of the moon is Saturn. So Saturn moon nexus is what really gets us into guilt, which leads to depression and unhappiness. Okay. This is the highest.
Sir, Saturn moon results in guilt, or like do they feel okay with whatever they have done?
No, there'll be a subconscious memory actually for all of us. We remember our past. See, for example, do you see in college when we are all new to the world, and let's say somebody opens up an alcohol bottle, some of them will immediately turn away. Why do they do that?
So can we say
past life they would have suffered, sir?
In past life, how they would have suffered?
They would have had some liver disease or something like that.
Maybe with alcohol they died and they have subconscious memory of it.
Oh, that's interesting, Guruji. Because I am one of those who turns away.
Because if you take and then say, I don't want, because it doesn't taste good, that's one. But whereas for others, it is tasting so good. The same thing. There are people who take it every day, and there are people who never touched it. How is that possible? For one genetic system to do that? We are all one species, right? Can you see differences in a species in terms of habits? All lions will be the same. All tigers will be the same. They know exactly what to do, and they will never do anything which the other tiger does not. Right? They can do exactly the same thing. But for human beings, you see people like Mahatma Gandhi who will say, never touch a person, like Buddha. And then we have serial killers, we have Hitler. Variety, wide variety. So we have people who are so much disciplined, and they say, okay, how many of you have learned about this marshmallow experiment? The marshmallow experiment. Raise your hands if you know.
Yes.
Don't Google it, okay, now. Okay. And in meanwhile, if any of you have some extra things to say, please type it out, okay? Okay. When you say in terms of effects of planets, it's always conjunction that has the maximum result. Next comes aspect, but it should be mutual. It should be I look at you, you look at me. Only then there is a connection. It shouldn't be one-sided, one-side love. Only the boy looks at the girl doesn't look at the boy. It should be mutual. So mutual aspect between moon. And then the same combination is for sannyas, for renunciation. So what does that mean? Why did the Buddha seek salvation? He had no problems, right? He had no problems. Sai Prahlad says we cannot add Gandhi and Buddha. Okay, I'm only talking about the non-violent side, part of that. Okay, I'm not talking about the whole personality. They are very.
Today, one person, she's my old client, and I told her. I mean, she was asking about something. I said there was challenging things in the marriage, and that became true. And she has went to many astrologers. Their family has went to many astrologers. Nobody told them that she would have a problem in marriage life, but it was very obvious from. And so then she said, only me and another person have said that that she will have a problem with marriage. Okay, and then she was saying in a message, I don't know what bad deeds did I do in my past life that it's coming to me in this life. And so she was repenting there. Why I'm saying that is, see, Buddha realizes that in his next life, or all the yogis, they realize that in their next life, some other prarabdha karma can come, and they may not have the same opportunity as they have now.
Okay.
I think you've said this before. So I'm just repeating what you said. And so that's why they take this renunciation very seriously, because they know this is a continuous game. Whereas us normal people, we don't realize that this is a continuous game.
See, this is like retiring, retirement. Okay, maybe some of us in this room have already retired. Okay, I'm contemplating on it. I don't know how long, but retirement. How do you retire? After so many months and months of work, then finally say enough. And then you stop. It seems, having gone through many, many lives, the soul will, find out there's no point. And then it goes towards this. So that's what happened to the Buddha. But happiness, there are two things. One, the consequences of your past life, that you cannot say, okay, I'm sorry. I mean, maybe I committed a murder, but don't put me in jail. I want to be a happy person. I want to be free. So there is the result also. There is the Newton's third law. So if you had taken away someone else's happiness, you must go through unhappiness. This is Newton's law. Nowhere, there's no way to get out of that. And the rest of it will be only philosophical talk. You become spiritual, you do this, that. Nothing is going to work. There is the truth in all these things, that there is a consequence. So you cannot say, I want to be happy. The system won't let you be happy. That is the reason why so much of discipline, so much of, that knowledge from the guru, do this, do that, don't do this. All this is so important to us. Then why do we say Guru is Brahma, Guru is Vishnu, Guru is Maheshwara? So these teachers in every field, your chemistry teacher, your college teachers, anywhere, the teachers are the ones who will lead you to happiness. You understand? So knowledge is happiness. But you cannot say, after having, if you are in the consequences part, you cannot escape from that. You got to go through it. Here, what would be the key word if you want to be happy once you are in prison or you're going through the consequences in anything? Let's forget the killing, the murder and all that. There are so many other crimes for which we get into trouble. Not exactly the way we have described this. Basically becoming unhappy. Love failure makes you unhappy. Divorce makes you unhappy. Health problems definitely makes you unhappy. Okay. So what are the houses of unhappiness or leading to unhappiness? Which are the houses, the main houses?
6, 8, 12,
6, 8, and 12.
6, 8, and 12 takes us to the house, the lords, planets placed here, all of them take us to the state of unhappiness, right? So
probably also third and the 11th house.
No, maybe see, yeah, but these are the prime houses actually. The 6, 8, and 12 houses are the prime houses that usually connects. But then the lords of these houses can be in any house, and it can give you problems in any other place also, depending upon so many other factors. Like if you really are serious about it, if you read anybody's, how many of you refer to BPHS, Dasha, Antardasha when you give a reading to people? Be honest. All of you put down your hands and then raise it again. Okay. Rahul, you already raised your hand. Put it down and then raise. How many of you always look into and you don't want to take, see, for example, you can attempt to give a prediction without even referring the book. You can always say, oh, I know this so well. Okay. I know this so well. What is the big deal? I don't have to refer the book. I know the Antardasha Nath in 6, 8, and 12, or from Dasha Nath it is in 6, 8, and 12. That's all there is to Dasha and Antardasha. How many of you actually refer to the book each time? Okay, I'll start first. I always do that. I always keep that file open. Okay. Though the clients will not know I'm looking into that page. So many people, 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4 people. The rest, what happens is you try to make up your own, use your common sense. You say this or something. Now, if you actually start using the book every time, you will sometimes be maybe amazed or shocked, terribly impressed with what astrology can do to us or give to us. Because there will be sometimes the exact words, and that is impossible. Without karma actually working, without astrology actually working, there's no way it can be so exact. Okay. So what is astrology? The main purpose of astrology, or what is astrology itself in the first place? What do the Maharshis, how do the Maharshis describe astrology? Anybody can give one-line description of how they look at astrology. What is it about?
Tendencies, sir.
Tendencies. Okay, we can come to that later. But what is it about actually?
It is also known as the chakshu or the eye, Guruji.
Yeah, that is that's fine. It is one of the eye of the Vedas, right? In the Vedanga, it is netra. Okay.
It goes beyond what we can see, the unseen portion.
Okay. Any other way to describe?
Jyotish on the future, light on the unknown future.
Oh, somebody typed out Sri Isha. Happiness and unhappiness. That's all. The perfect answer. So let's give Sri Isha a big hand. So that is the real thing about astrology. There's only 2 possibilities. Happy, unhappy. At this point in time, you have only two situations. You are happy or unhappy. There's no other thing like, in our computers, we have zeros and ones, those who know computers. Can you believe that in the computer, there is nothing else other than 0 and 1? There's nothing else. So the entire world is made of the 0 and 1. The entire world is made of happiness and unhappiness. Or you'll always find the duality. The whole world is of the duality. What is the duality? Like, for example, if you say matter and then spirit or consciousness, if you want, there's nothing else. Or if you say darkness, there is only light. That's all. And in light, you have so many colors and all that. That's still light only. It's just a vibration. And if you want to know what is black and what is white and what is red, and all of this will be only in that shade. Some animals don't see, they say they don't see colors, but they'll see shades. And still they can recognize that shade. They know how to recognize. So it is only about happiness and unhappiness. So now we understand why the topic is so important. The only thing is this Like we have this great movie, The Pursuit of Happiness. Where is the word pursuit of happiness coming from? Anyone? In pursuit of happiness. From where was that line picked up?
Are you referring to Bertrand Russell's book, or are we talking about Buddha?
Yeah, I mean, wherever. But if you think, I know from where it was picked up, in pursuit of happiness.
Is it in Bible, sir?
Okay. We'll wait for the answer. Meanwhile, somebody is bound to find it out from, I see already Sirish has mentioned it, the American Constitution. Okay. So this, it is taken from that, in pursuit of happiness. And this, in pursuit of happiness, Ramana Maharshi spoke at length, and he spoke of nothing else other than that. And he always used to say, we are just want to be happy. And why do you want to be happy? He says, it's because that is a natural state. Unhappiness is not the natural state. Unhappiness is what you became. You did something to become unhappy. But just because if somebody is unhappy, you can't tell them, be happy. So that's why I started with this discussion about consequences. I started a business and I messed up I'm in deep debts. People are after me and you can't tell me be happy. That is a consequence, right? Now I have to first solve this problem.
Sir, can we also say that this happiness and unhappiness is not restricted to some houses? Every house has that happiness quotient and every house has unhappiness quotient. The result of a house is...
Because you're right. Because if a certain planet is in a certain way, it gives happiness. And if a planet is in a certain way, like afflicted and this and that, you find out something, it will become unhappy. Actually, every house, there will be a flip side, the opposite side. If you say fourth house is what? Our Sukham. If gets afflicted, we'll be in unhappiness instead of Sukham. You understand? So you're right by saying that there is no particular house at all. But the main houses are 6, 8, and 12. To understand
Sir, another thing, what I have noticed is like any house, the happiness quotient of that comes through fourth house. Like fifth, some persons, they will be like, they really wanted child. So when they were really wanting for it, at that time they won't have. So they will get frustrated and it's like, okay, whatever happens, let it happen, then they will get. So they won't get that happiness quotient when they get it.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. When I wanted it doesn't happen, which could have made me happy. And now it's coming at a time when I was not really after it. Okay.
It might be like even they go to hotel order for something and it comes like when they get frustrated. So like fourth house sucks the happiness from all the house. Like any house happiness quotient comes through fourth house, via fourth house.
Seventh house is direct. For every house, the direct opposite seventh is connected. Like, for example, if you have a good work, work, career, karma, whether it be an entrepreneur, XYZ, 10th house, then automatically you will live a more comfortable life, which is the fourth, and vice versa. If you have a good home, then obviously a good, house environment, you will do well at work. Similarly, for those who are suffering from debts, repayment gives them the most happiness, the 12th house. And those who are, suffering from their disease or 12th house problems, the 6th house, taking medicines on a regular basis, like being ritualistic, 6th house is also about, we say for employees, like workers, right? And what does a worker do? Worker does, every day he goes to his job and
there's a routine.
It's a very routine. So all 6th house things is about routine. So for 12th house remedies,
okay, they'll tell you exactly what time you should take the tablet.
Yeah. So like that, and then we can connect 2, 8, in family, and similarly, all the rest. And yourself, and count out your spouse.
Okay.
But can I add a point here, Guruji?
Yes, please. Everybody, it's a open discussion. Everybody, because this is not exactly an astrology discussion, but we are trying to link it up because last 2-3 days I was reading horoscopes of people who went to jail all on a sudden. Last 1 week, no reason at all. You can't really explain in the normal context.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add, Praladji, what you said. From personal experience, I feel, this is only from my experience, my chart, that even if the 10th house is very good, or the 4th house may be good, but still happiness is, I have felt that it can be compartmentalized. So just the rule that you were mentioning, or your observation, the opposite 7th house one, for me, I don't think it's
ma'am. So I'm talking about, like, if the 10th house has to be good, then direct opposite to that are connected, not necessarily in other areas of life. Okay, for example,
what he's saying is, if you have a good profession, if you have a good livelihood, you are comfortable. Obviously, you will have a house, you will do it very well. And because the home is such a nice place, you got enough mood to come back for work. So it is interrelated, the happiness and work. It is like if you are unemployed, actually you should be happier because there's no work. But then it's not true. You'll be unhappy. So working makes you happy. The 10th house thing makes you happy. So that's what he's trying to say, because 4, 10, all the opposite houses are interconnected. We've been telling this, so many times. Please give importance to the opposite houses. 1, 7. And in fact, B.V. Raman used to repeat this in most of the articles, and even other astrologers also. The ascendant lord can get you married. How many of you know that? Just the ascendant lord can get you married, because it is a 7th from the 7th. It is you and the other person. The same axis, not just the 7th lord. I know several people got married in the Antardasha planet who is ruling the first house, and maybe in the first house. Sometimes it is so close to ascendant that in Navamsha also it is in the first house. And in that case, it happens. Okay. So the opposite houses tell us a lot. And meanwhile, let's have a look at the chat. Magender Rajashekharan to everyone. In Gita 255, Krishna says that in an unenlightened state, we are addicted, conditioned to form, desires, objects, and outcomes, etc. Searching for happiness there, it is futile. Okay. Can you give any in the modern times some example where you can talk about it instead of quoting Bhagavad Gita? Can you talk about what this can do to us when you're not enlightened? We'll say that from the point of view of knowledge and ignorance. Let's not make it enlightened beings alone. So we generally take knowledge and ignorant. Example of what the ignorant people may go through experience by quoting some examples, some situations, anything that comes to your mind.
Yeah. So I can take that. I can give an example, Guruji.
Okay.
So most of the time, right, we are conditioned that you need to get this plus this plus this, then you'll be happy. A good relationship, or you need to have certain level of wealth, or you need to have children, and you need to have. If the formula is satisfied, you are conditioned that you will be happy. That's a formula we've been taught as children, all the way from mark sheets to scores to degrees and picket fences and dogs and family, and which basically, if you go and really sit and observe and reflect, you don't need that formula. So the essence formula is basically you're happy. Yeah, you're born with senses, and you're not handicapped, for example. If you come from a place of gratitude and you really, really understand who you are, which takes maybe lives right? So then you don't have to have this formula of the 10th house has to be in place, or then you are better off. So the source of happiness is within you, and from there you face the world, or because you can't stop the problems. They are going to come like waves.
Okay.
So the way you receive the problem, because half the time life we spend time solving problems. Whereas if you know how to receive a problem with a sense of who you are and from a happy place, I think you're a little bit wiser. Otherwise, you're chasing an illusion, which you start looking at the houses, and again, if you're going back to the conditioning, if this is in place, I'll be happy.
Okay.
Sir,
Good example.
Sir, from astrological perspective, can you say like fourth house is how you absorb happiness, and like everything others are like case study. If whether you get happiness from children or not is fifth house, whether you get happiness from work or not is 10th house, whether you get happiness from your father or not is 9th house. But how you absorb happiness or what your mindset is like is from fourth house. Is it a correct way to put it, sir?
No, I was asking for some simple layman examples of whatever was mentioned here, that we are addicted to form, desire, objects, desires and objects and outcomes, or any of these things, which is a normal thing. I'm asking for some examples. Like, this is how we are because we don't have the knowledge. If you have the knowledge, it's quite different.
Guruji?
Yes, please go ahead.
You mentioned a contemporary example. There is a book, lately there is a book called Learned Optimism. It's really a 30-year-old book.
Okay.
They studied it, and when it came...
1 minute. Yeah, I muted that person. Yes, please go ahead.
30 years ago, when this book came, it was it evoked a lot of discussions in the United States. The book is called Learned Optimism.
Learned Optimism.
Yes. What they studied a lot of people trying to figure out how, as a counter idea to the reinforcement theory, like, if you give cookies to the dog will listen to you. Okay. Only up to a point. And anyway, let the people read the book. But the idea is learning to isolate difficulties to impermanent. If you simply sit and keep staring at it, it will dissolve. It will not any longer have power over you. Basically accept. Second is to begin to think about, if I failed, I cannot swim. It doesn't bother me anymore because I don't go near the water, but I can do something else better. Understanding your limits help. And the third one is, if I failed, in some occasions when I do, then I say, well, what would my brother do? What would my friend do? And then try to understand. But all these things, in order to even rationally think, your mind has to be clear. Moon should not be afflicted. And your guru should be giving you a potential to even think and not get overwhelmed. If Moon and Jupiter are in good relationship, you can think your way out of it. Otherwise, any amount of training would not even come to you. That's why people generally call, whenever people make wrong things, they say a lapse of judgment. A lot of people don't say, I'm sorry, I did that mistake, I did not know. Few people say, I should have known better. Most people will say, there was a lapse of judgment. At that moment, that knowledge didn't help me. Like Karnan, he shot the Nagasuram and it didn't do a good job because Lord Krishna moved.
Yeah. So can we say happiness is so much related to our knowledge? Can we say that?
Yeah, Guruji, there was Guruji.
Can you give an example, sir?
Yeah, Guruji. Hello.
1 minute. I think who wants to speak? Yes, Aromal.
Yeah, Guruji, actually, there was a study conducted by Harvard University on the happiness. So that is the longest study by in terms of duration. I think it conducted, the duration was, I think, over 70 plus years. And they have conducted a study of people from the childhood to the old age.
Okay.
And the final conclusion was actually the better surrounding that actually makes the people more happy. So if you are surrounded by better people or the better persons, so that actually makes that particular person more happy and more success in life. That was the conclusion of that study.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Aromal, can you, Ravindran, can you just document this in the chat? Whatever you said, just 4-5 lines is enough. Okay. Yeah, in connection to that, can anybody quote something that is popular in India, almost relating to what he said? Whatever Aromal. Yeah, satsang. Correct. Yeah. So Adi Shankara spoke about it, right? The power of satsang, the good people, the good, See, for example, right now we are in a state of mind, maybe a happiness. Right now, we are not troubled by anything because we are discussing something very serious. And we at this point in time, we are not unwell or we are not having any problem. We are just thinking about all this. So there is the power of association, satsang. With whom are you? So this will also be you can relate this to planetary conjunctions. With whom are you, or what is your association? Sambandha in astrology we call it, and it's very important. The satsangatve, nishangatvam, nishangatve, nirmohatvam. So Adi Shankara talks about how it leads. One thing leads to another, and finally leads to Jivan Mukti. In the last line, he says that. See, the thing is about this, what Aromal Ravindran said, if you go in for a research, all of us will have to come to the same conclusion. Isn't that wonderful? Do you see that? It's so wonderful to think that everywhere in the world, if they say, if there is one apple here and one apple there, and I put both into the box, the entire world will say, now there are only 2 apples in this new box. I mean, the third box, right? So there's no difference at all. Whatever you may, wherever you are born, however you live, ultimately knowledge alone can be this. So where is your unhappiness? In exam hall, what is the unhappiness? What is the unhappiness in marks? Again, it will come to knowledge only. This boy, the IIT boy who murdered and went to jail, what is the unhappiness now? The unhappiness is caused by ignorance. He didn't know the consequences. Maybe he studied well in 12th standard and got into IIT, but he did not know that, you got to control. You have to be moderate in everything. You can't, because sometimes, even in anger, when you push a person, just sometimes you may trip and fall, and there are many places in the head where you knock yourself at the corner, you will die on the spot. The person will die on the spot. Then you will not know, oh my God, what have I done? And it will become irreversible. Then the consequences follow. Either you have to dump the body somewhere and then you struggle with it, and then finally it comes out. And then that is God's will, that God will never let anybody escape. So however, that's a different topic altogether, because I somehow don't believe that everything is God's will. I belong to that, I'm on that side. I don't think that everything is God's will. I think God's will is the universe itself. I think God's will is the oxygen he gave to us. God's will is the earth he gave us, the way the earth rotates, all that we discuss about our world, that is God's will. But what I do and what you do is definitely not all of them are God's will. Okay.
Guruji, can it be like karma pushing the person to do this and that?
Yeah, there might be something coming from past life, but then it could be a fresh, an event that completely came from what they call choice, Icha Shakti, pure Icha Shakti. I think once I showed you a slide from Bhagavad Gita, right? And Sri Krishna says there is a separate factor called Icha Shakti. And the fifth one was God's will, right? God. Do you remember that slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You want me to search for that again? I can show it to you. Okay. In the previous class, I showed it. In the previous Patreon session, I showed it. We are actually composed of 5. The body, the eye, and all that. In that, there is an Icha Shakti. Why would you keep Icha Shakti separately? It's definitely not God. So please.
My efforts, sir.
Yeah.
It is also stated, right?
Yeah.
That what differentiates human from animals is buddhir, that element of free will to be utilized.
Yeah, exactly. So we cannot simply say every time it's God's will. God's will, if that is God's will, then Sri Krishna will not say whenever adharma rises, I will come. He would say even adharma is part of my will only. So what? I'll manage everything. Then it is actually he's playing the entire game. Then it will not tally with Bhagavad Gita's Bhagavad Gita in Mahabharata. It will not tally with Krishna being a witness. Of course, he's a charioteer, but in the war, he's almost turning himself into a witness, because if he wants to fight the war and he wants to kill the Kauravas, he will do it in 1 second. But he's not doing it. He's going through the normal rules of the game. And that's because he knows that you people created this and you handle it yourself. I'm not party to this. That's the real truth about it. And when saints tell it is God's will, they're talking from some other context. They're talking about the real will of God, which is knowledge and so many other things. Okay. Oh, thank you. Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. Okay. Guna Sitaraman has said that. Okay. Soumya says it is God's skill. Soumya is becoming nowadays very poetic. Doctor, you're in form, I think.
Guruji, I had one perspective from Osho also about happiness. He says that only basing everything on intellectual understanding, which in an astrological chart can be Mercury, that through buddhi, you can understand a lot of things. But if you have not worked on your subconscious mind, that dilemma will always create unhappiness. So even if you know that anger is bad, but the subconscious wiring is of anger, and you keep getting angry at certain situations, then that dilemma that you know that it's not good, but you keep doing it out of habit, that gap also creates unhappiness. So if you change, and I'm assuming that karma is also kind of subconscious, right? It's our subconscious programming is karma. So even if I know certain things, but I'm not able to execute it, that can be unhappiness.
So I think what you're probably pointing out is the predisposition versus how you exercise your free will, right? If you had seen the movie Beautiful Mind, right?
Yes,
I'm not sure if you had seen that, right?
I've seen it, yeah.
In that, he knows that he hallucinates. He sees things and people when they're not there. But in the end, he reconciles that, yes, I do know that, and I should not be reacting to that. That is where his free will comes into play. So I think the balance between predisposition, which we call as destiny, and astrology helps us a lot to determine that, and exercise of free will is what is a balance I think Dhilipji was also probably pointing at.
So whatever it is, it will boil down to, if you possess knowledge, you're happy. Everything will boil down to knowledge.
Correct. Sir, I have a very interesting, sorry, may I interrupt?
Yes.
Yeah. If you allow me to actually, I completely agree with, what the person before me spoke. And I experienced it very recently personally. So if you allow me 1 minute to share, I would love to, because it's a very practical thing that I experienced. Free will versus what's happening astrologically.
Okay, not astrologically. You can talk about what's happening due to karma, because astrology is just a tool to understand karma. It's not the cause of anything. Only karma is the cause of everything.
Okay, karma, I wouldn't know what happened in my last life, but that's why I went to astrology to look for answers.
Yeah.
So long story short, I broke up and I was getting really obsessive and really depressed, more than it was required. And I was like, why is this happening? And last 3-4 years, I've been following astrology, but not so much, right? And I started going to astrologers, started understanding, and then I see Rahu Moon, Dasha going on. And I read online, and day by day, it was getting bad to worse, like so much so virtually I planned suicide notes and whatnot. And articles are telling me it's Rahu Moon equal to depression. A part of my mind is getting it. A part of my mind is like bullshit. Every day you're getting more depressed. And as time started going by, it got worse. As he said, hallucinations, right? I know the mind is tricking me. I need to stop. It's another 2 months. Just stay put, but you don't get it. It's like you're torn, free will versus it's sort of happening because of karma or whatever. And back to destiny. And I'm going through every possible article on the internet. I come across Vijayji, who interviewed you as well. And I somehow read his article online about Rahu Moon. Explicitly, he says, this leads to hallucinations. It's like watching a horror movie with lights on and going to the bathroom and getting scared. It just clicks with me. And somehow I'm traveling to Jaipur. I don't know how I find that man. I get his number. I'm like, you have no choice but you have to meet me. I planned. If this astrologer turns out to be crap, I am popping some pills and something is happening. I'm giving him the last chance. And I met him and I don't know. He just brainwashed my mind. I said, write it on paper that after next month, I'm going to be okay and not so depressed. Give me pinky promise, like so much so. So free will is making me sort of wait and not. So this is where knowledge comes in, right? Maybe the knowledge to learn something, the knowledge of being aware that maybe due to a certain planetary position, the emotions are going out of control. And he's like, I promise you, wait till 27th of April. I promise you, just stay put, don't cut yourself, don't do anything crazy until then. And the rest is history. And after that, my faith has gone quadruple. That doesn't mean it's blind faith. So yeah, long story short, like back to free will versus karma, if you may call it. So I found him very mystically.
Moral of the story?
Balance is very essential.
Yeah.
All troubles, no matter what, it will not last forever. Either we die or the trouble dies, or we end up accepting the trouble. So that is the element of time. The question is that if we read and understand a lot, all we understand is that this happens to everybody and all people get out of this problem one way or another. Therefore, there is no reason why I am not any different. That is where the situation of knowledge helps. But I still believe in order to get these things to be applied, we need to be mindful. Otherwise, we are overpowered and we can't, no amount of tools will help. This is where I am coming back to again. God's grace has to be there. Unless we are humbled and be open to receiving other people's ideas, things doesn't happen. This is where Rahu affliction is a serious affliction. It just wouldn't even make you want to listen to anybody. Think that, I know, why do I need to listen to you?
Perfect. I mean, I've noticed that all these 30 years, once Rahu is afflicting, the person will not listen. And then it becomes very difficult to find any solution. So actually listening would become the most important thing, the first step towards knowledge. And that's why I always used to say Ganesha's symbolism, the removal of obstacles starts with the large ears. That means you need big ears. Only then it starts. You speak less and yeah.
Krishna says, little intellect is enough to overcome many problems in life. And with that said, topic of free will versus karma, we know that every monk or even the yogis, they all wake up early in the morning. They do this huge ritual kind of thing. In a way, they are trying to, take control of their, indriyanis or their senses. Without that, I think none of us can, without yoga and those kind of practice, if we don't take control of the senses, I don't think we can win against the karma versus free will thing. Because karma is constantly pushing, like when Soumya ma'am said, now certain combinations clearly say the person will be angry, and that will be the default wiring. The only way you can overcome the default wiring is by intellect. But for your intellect to be that strong to overcome, you need to have the discipline in the body. So whether by yoga or by meditation, by doing all those things, you discipline yourself, and then you start take control of your karmas. If not, karma is going to, slap in the face.
Agreed, Sai. I think that is what I at least refer to as cognitive change.
Yeah.
Right? I think astrology helps a lot to get to know how you are predisposed in many areas. Then you use your free will and intellect to bring that to the balance.
It comes down to getting your user's manual and the map, but at the end of the day, you still need to choose to drive. The effort is important.
The travel goes on.
Yeah.
In between, Jyotish Kasi had typed Ahara Nidra. What is that?
Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maitunacha Samanyam Etat Pashubhir Naranam. Basically, it means that Ahara, the feeling of hunger, Nidra,
sleep,
Bhaya, the sense of fear, Maithunam, the ability to reproduce. They are the same between animals and human.
Oh,
and
they're common. Okay,
they are common. So what differentiates human races is buddhirhi tesham adhiko veshaso, buddhirhina pashubi samanam. So that's where is the intellect or the free will is as important as destiny.
Correct. Because if you believe in destiny, it has to be created first by a thought, right? It has to come from Icha Shakti. It cannot come by just like that. It cannot appear in your life and your whatever you call as you. So you must have created it. You created it. So that means there is the scope for creating karma. Then of course it becomes a chain reaction. One thing leads to another, and then you keep getting consequences. Then you keep getting fresh free will. And at any point in time, if you by chance start listening to a teacher, and you can capitalize on that and make the journey a better journey than before, or what it was supposed to be. Okay, so there's always the scope for change. Very good. So what will make us happy? Again, one we said satsang, right? Good company.
Sir, here can we compare the satsang as with Jupiter plus Moon conjunction, sir, without unafflicted?
Okay. See, but one thing, whenever we talk about this, there are two components in us. That which was already there, slated for us, and that which we create in the current life. Because this one creates the future karmas. So we have to accept that both are possible. And so if we spread the message that everything is prefixed, then there is no scope for any alteration. Because even the alteration, you would club it along with karma. Like I used to quote this joke, right? Remember, one client came to me and I showed him the book, and he said, I don't know to read English. So I said, okay, I'll read it for you. And then I said, Maharishi Parashara says, you are in a high stress time and you have to give a black cow in charity. Right? Remember what he said?
No, Guruji, you have not shared this with us.
Where does it say?
Is it written whether I will do it in the first place?
Yeah. So I read out that line and said, Maharishi Parashara. In Tamil, I told him, he's coming from the Mafsil area, from some village. I told him that Maharishi Parashar is asking you, suggesting that you do the Mahamrityunjaya Homa and the Black Cow Charity. He said, yes, it is. He has said that. I understand. But is he also saying whether I will do it or not? I said, no, he's asking you to do it. Yes, sir, I understand what you're saying. He's asking me to do it. But does he say that I will do it or not? So both of us repeated the statements 5 times. I gave up finally. So let us never be like this guy who says, even to meet a guru, there must be fate. It's not correct. Sometimes it might be also, because we have seen people meeting up with gurus in the Antardasha planet place in the 3rd house, which is called the house of meeting the master, initiation. Happened many times. And if it is guru, if the planet itself is guru, definitely it will happen. Or if that lord is aspected by guru, or the house is aspected by guru, any connection with the real Jupiter, meaning Jupiter in astrology, which we call as guru, if that is connected to the 3rd during its period, of course, there are several ways you could connect it to Wimsam's divisional chart, D20 chart. Also, it will be, it is possible. Most of them said, yes, I met my guru in that time, when it is the 3rd. Because, so therefore, there is some truth in saying sometimes even to meet, it will be connected to that. So, but that doesn't mean that you cannot meet the guru if that is not destined to happen. You still have free will to exercise. So please consider this very seriously, that there is something coming from past life. Results are coming in. At the same time, we have fresh set of free wills. And how else will we create our future karmas? So it is in a state of flux, constantly modifying itself. It's not like something solidified and that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like we write our article, like I keep editing it so many times before. Even while it is on the internet, I'll keep editing it, like WordPress articles. Whatever you people think, it's wonderful and all that, is maybe dozen times I must have edited it. So you can keep, re-scripting everything. But in that script editing thing, the matter is still there. I'm only changing the way it is. So we can improve upon anything to get happiness. Okay. Is there something else? In the beginning, somebody said, I think somebody said, if I make others happy, I'm happy. Right? Am I right? When somebody in the beginning said...
Yes, sir. Soumya said, sir.
Soumya said. Okay. Now there is Dr. Soumya and then there is a Soumya. Which Soumya is that?
What was the point?
Okay.
Guruji, I think that's not a very good idea, because I remember a story where this Byzantine king, before the Byzantine Empire, there was this king. He made his friend very, very happy. He made his friend into a commander. Then he gave him so much power. Eventually, the friend became so powerful, he ruled all the army. He killed the king and he took away his kingdom.
Okay.
And started the Byzantine Empire. So
okay.
Well, by definition, when you start doing things for others, you're inviting unhappiness.
Okay. What if you modify it to, in a slight alteration, to making the unhappy happy, instead of the examples that was quoted? Here in the story that Sai Prahlad mentioned, he's part of the army, right? And then, correct, Prahlad, in the story, he makes him happy.
No, he was a very normal person. He makes him into a soldier, commander, promotes him, makes him into the general, and then
in that there would be vested interest, Prahlad. What we are talking about, helping others, is where there is no interest. There's nothing that can come back from that person. That's why when people ask me, can I give donation to my staff? I said, that's not a donation. Okay. if you take care of your own maid servant, it's not actually a donation. Donation is when charity is when you give and nothing ever comes back from that person. And in that,
Totally
there are two things. Yeah, and there are two things in that. One, if they ask you give, what is the result? And even before they ask if you give, what is the result? Even before they ask if you give, it is the highest, it has the highest effect on changing your karma. Okay. Talking about the addiction part, I have this story to tell from my my life experience. Sometime back, around 4-5 families, we all went to Kedarnath. And it was just not Kedarnath. There were many other temples covered in that part of the world. So we went around, and it was almost some close to, I think, 7 days or 10 days. I think 10 days. So I have a friend who also came along, but then he was worried about one aspect. How am I going to survive without drinks? I will die, he said. Okay, I'm sure I will not survive. I cannot sleep at all because I have to take it every day to sleep. So he's been doing that for maybe he himself told me he's been doing that for 30 years. Every day drinking. So I told him, don't worry. I just bluffed, saying that we will arrange for that. Only for you, you will get your alcohol. And throughout the 10 days, he forgot about it. And when we were coming back in Dehradun airport, he saw the bar and looked at the bottles. And then suddenly he got, he remembered the alcohol's part of his life. And then I asked him, how did you sleep? He said, I slept very well. So what happened to your theory that you cannot survive? That's what I'm also thinking, sir. But next day evening, he was again drinking. He got back. So he's unwilling to, learn from that it's actually not so compulsory. You can live without it. So this is something where even though you got an experience, you're still not able to utilize it to make a change in your life. Okay. So happiness can come if after you obtain the knowledge, you start practicing it. If you don't practice, then you will not be happy again. There's no guarantee for that just because you possess knowledge. You need to be practical. You have to work in that direction.
I was just thinking about application.
Application, yes.
Guru might say, wake up early in the morning.
Huh?
It is called pragna, sir. Pragna, with pra word, sir. Pragna means the knowledge that you have to put it into the action.
Okay. Only then it becomes, it will lead you to happiness.
Pavani ma'am, can you type that in the chat so that I'll store it? And as I was saying, Guruji, discipline. Guru might say, wake up early in the morning, do yoga and all that. If we don't apply it, how are we going to take control of the karma?
Correct.
Application part.
Sir, I have one question on I am thinking for quite a long time.
Yeah,
hello.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so sir, this is what I think sometimes. So bad karma, doing something bad in this birth will give bad results probably in this birth or the next birth, right? Doing good karmas probably will nullify bad karmas or give me good results either in this birth, next birth.
Yeah.
But still, that is, just like when I was child, I wanted to be grown up to be happy. When I am grown up, I see, there is no point. I have to go to office every day and do all these chores. So that's what I'm thinking, like doing good karma is also a good thing or not? Because it is not, it will give happiness only for some time. Does that make sense? Like what I'm trying to ask?
This has been discussed by the Buddha. Okay. And it has been discussed in philosophy also. So but it is better to do good karma and get the good results than doing the bad karma and getting the bad results. But the good karma also is vulnerable. That's why we have this game. We play this game, Snake and the Ladder on Vaikuntha Ekadasi. When so much of good karma is there is the possibility that you make a mistake and come down again. Okay, you became so successful and then you forgot certain things and then became too egoistic, you became rude, and then you made a mistake and you came down. There is this possibility. But when you are in plus only, you can close the bank account and get moksha. Closing the bank account is like getting moksha, making it zero. But when you are in minus, the bank will not let you go away. They'll come after you. So it is only in the world of punya, even though the world of punya also has its own minuses, but still you are a lot better there than being in the hellish life. It's like our heaven and hell story. In heaven, there's still problems in heaven also, even from the stories. But I think it's all about only the world of rich people and successful people. They get into a lot of pleasure and all that. I'm sure it is not a external heaven and external hell. It's definitely there right on earth. I don't believe somehow it's outside.
One karma example, recently the sons of the Sri Lanka, President XYZ, they used to have all the, Lamborghinis and all those cars. Recently, all of that got burned down. Okay. I mean, the karma is coming in this life, not even in the next life, because of their actions, mismanagement, XYZ. Now the wealth is gone. Everything is like a person can fall from the height, from rulership.
Correct. When you're not doing
maybe it with good karma, maybe with good karma, the person will have a good Saturn next year, in next life. That's all I can think of.
Actually, Guruji, Tattva Bodha, that book, it talks about that once the person reaches a level where there is zero negative, means negative is not there, negative has been taken care of, but they're continuing to do punya because they still have life remaining, then that punya gets distributed in their disciples so that they can reach zero, because at some point you have to reach zero, right, to get moksha. So but they can't stop teaching and giving knowledge because that is helping others, something that they have attained in that life.
In that situation, when they impart knowledge, they are totally selfless, and because they are not concerned with the fruits, they wouldn't even get any consequence out of that also, because they would have given up completely, and they're just doing it without any. Because when the Buddha got enlightened, he didn't speak at all for a long time. For I think they said some months he didn't open up at all, because he knew it was too. First of all, he was happy for himself that he found out, and second, he thought that this cannot be understood by others because they are not qualified. And then he changed his mind based on request, and people said, no, you must speak, and so on. And maybe the universe wanted him to speak, and then finally he opened up and he taught. But then later he had complained that not everybody could grasp what he said. That's almost the same thing that Jesus also says. I can tell you, but you will not understand. So almost everybody says the same thing. Even in a class, when a teacher says, not everybody will understand. So we have to move from the basic at the bottommost to the higher level in a process. And so we are not at the same point. If you look at the chakra theories, right? There is the what somebody said about the animal. What is the difference between animal and us? That portion of us is called the Mooladhara chakra. Okay. So which graha is connected to the Mooladhara? I hope you have seen my video on chakras.
Saturn, sir.
Saturn. Okay. So from Saturn, the next sign, if you go like this or on the top, the next sign is Jupiter. So Jupiter is all about, slightly getting better, expansion, like that. And slowly You go up. The next is Mars. The next is Venus, the heart chakra. And then the throat chakra is the Mercury on both sides. You see how identical it is on that, from Aquarius to this, and from Capricorn to the sun and the moon. Have all of you seen this video? Chakra video I made long time back.
No, Guruji.
Oh, please see it. You know, yeah. Okay.
Guruji, one more thing. This is why we say Krishnarpanam whenever we do things, because we are giving up our activities to the God.
Yes, wherever possible, that makes us feel better. Like, for example, in the past 2-3 years, I've been trying to practice that. So what if the other person has won this game? Before that, I used to get worked up. I lost this game. Then I started, I came up with a beautiful idea. I used to put myself in the other person's shoes and say, okay, I won. So like that, I used to think, now that person is very happy that he has won the game. And then I used to think, what if he was my son? I would have left, I would have allowed my son to defeat me in this game. So after that, I was not tensed at all. Before that, I used to get tensed while playing any game. So I came up with this idea. And always, when you don't look at the actual, the score and everything, that is the best thing that you can do, because it's so difficult for us not to look at results. It's so difficult. You cannot be so quickly unattached to, because that's a huge, like a penance. Okay. So,
Guruji, surrendering the punya to God. I mean, that's how you clear the positive. Like, for example, you take Karna, he could not be killed. So Krishna will go in the form of, and he will ask for donation of his good punya. And once the punya goes away, and once he donates his punya, then he'll get killed. Or, correct. He will leave the body.
Yeah. Because that's a good example of where even punya will force you to, continue. Even that is also, that's what I think people are saying. So I'll just show you this, those of you who have not seen the chakra video, but please don't miss that video. Okay. It's very simple. So these two signs, this is the Muladhara chakra point. Okay. I don't know how to copy this. I forgot. Okay.
That is the video. That is the video that I just appended. That is the chakras 10 minutes long video by you.
Where? Oh, you put the in the chat, is it? Okay. Okay. That's too long. Okay. So here, this particular portion is our fear, our Muladhara. Okay. And then after that comes this one, Swadhisthana, which is Jupiter. And like this, you go to, what is that other one? Manipura, right? If I'm making a mistake, you please correct me. This is Anahata, and this is the Vishuddhi, sorry. And this is the Ajna. But reflection of this you have on the top also, the same way. For some reason, I forgot how to copy these stickers. So I will write it down here. This is Saturn. Same way, right? It's just the...
Guruji, isn't Anahata related to Venus because it's of the heart?
Which one?
Anahata chakra.
Yeah, that's what. Venus is related to heart. Correct. Love. This is where our love is. And that is why Saturn is exalted here. You understand? Compassion. This is compassion, and is opposite of war. Because if I place Saturn here, Saturn is debilitated here because, Saturn hates to be here. Because I don't like war, he says. I want peace. Okay, so in this particular area, in this Muladhara, Mars, gets exalted. Can anyone say why? Beautiful philosophy.
Animal nature amplified.
Capricorn is all about hard work.
No. There is you always think about the positive side of every graha. Mars is the awakening. No, the fight.
Mars is the commander. Justice and karma.
No, Mars is fight.
Saturn.
Yeah, survival. Somebody
slow.
said survival. Somebody said survival. Yeah.
Yeah, survival. I said.
No, I think somebody else is adding some points. I forgot. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't notice who it was. Please continue. Somebody wanted to say something.
Yeah, Saturn is slow, and Mars is very agile. So so Saturn maybe Saturn wants to be more agile. So that's why maybe.
Okay,
Mars
Saturn on the negative side is fear. Okay, survival. How do you survive? You fight and survive. The survival of the fittest in our Charles Darwin theory. So Mars is very happy to be here. Okay, so there are several ways of looking at it. And Saturn is exalted here because that is love, and you look at it anyway. Why do you say Jupiter is exalted here? Anyone? From chakra point of view. Okay, if I replicate this, moon will be, moon rules this house, right? So these two are Ajna chakras. But they say if you enter this place through the sun, after that there is no turning back. It's exit point. You go out. You go out from the karmic plane itself. But if you come through the moon to the same place, you fall back again in rebirth. So that is the only difference. But here also, there's a beautiful concept that Jupiter gets exalted in this place. Anybody wants to say something about this?
Enlightenment.
Exactly. When you reach thus far, you're almost at the Ajna Chakra. You just need a guru to jump out. So Jupiter is very happy to be here. Like this, you can talk about, all these things. So there are some mantras. I don't know if let me check. Yeah, this one. You see this? In this, there is some sound also. The lam, vam, ram, and yam, and hum, om. This is the last point. From here, either you fall back or you escape. The last one. Because the last one, which is the highest one, is the Sahasrara, is not part of the planetary plane at all. It's beyond the planetary plane. So it is equally distributed, the sun, moon, Mercury on either side, Venus on either side, Mars on either side. Beautiful concept about the way our spine is, the rising of the energies. I think that's a very beautiful. My son showed me a video, some cartoon character, a young boy and chakras. It became a very big hit. You must watch it. In fact, you must watch it with all your, your family.
I've seen it. Yes,
you've seen it, right? If you can remember,
It's called the Avatar Guruji.
Yeah, something like that. On Kuti boy, with a clean shaven head who looked like the Buddha, miniature Buddha or something like that.
Yes.
But you see the way they presented that very complex story. The complex information into a very nice story. Okay, so.
One information, Guruji, I can add here, it can help remember, is also that Mooladhara, the corresponding the chakra system is basically linked to our endocrine system, right? And the Mooladhara is connected to our adrenaline glands.
I'm not sure.
It represents that gland. So in the physical body, we have those 7 main glands. And Mooladhara is in the Sukshma Sharir, or it's the subtle body equivalent. So Mooladhara is connected to the adrenaline gland. So that's why it is connected to survival. So when you have fear or fight or flight, that is the gland that gets activated. So it was interesting to learn that it was connected to Saturn.
Yeah, when Jyotish Kasi spoke about that Ahara, Nidra, that portion, all that he mentioned in that, whatever was mentioned, I think it is from Bhagavad Gita, is it, Jyotish Kasi? I'm not sure from where you picked up that Ahara, Nidra thing. So that, all of that, even reproduction, the act of, that's why the sexual organ is in that area, which is why it got mixed up several times with spirituality. So that entire place is Saturn. And we know most of karma must have come only from this point. And that's why it's called the, the Muladhara. I think, so Saturn is the main planet for karma. Because from here, everything starts. Because you want your food, or you want excess food, and you want to get more money and make sure you have a food forever. And see, even in the forest, you fight with the others. You can see the hyena and the lion, everybody fighting for food. I mean, there is that fight even amongst human beings. Even now we are fighting. I think I saw one video when they said the supermarkets are going to close. And I saw riots in the supermarket, people all, completely destroying, because food is so much to do with survival instincts, right? Everybody wants it. So it all starts from there, I think, the Muladhara. And it starts from Saturn, and Saturn is the 10th house Lord in the Kala Purusha, which is where our karma starts. And the next house is the results, the 11th house. So you work and then you want the result. Both are connected to Saturn. From these two places, the rest of the sin, your consequences, everything comes. And therefore, Saturn is truly the karma karaka, the reason for everything. Okay. So what is our conclusion about happiness?
Can we say that happiness stems from going beyond the mind in a spiritual roadmap? When we reach the stage where the mind becomes fully developed, that means we have achieved a perfect human birth. And to go beyond human birth, we need to surpass across the mind. That is the reason why karma is usually associated with the mind, Guruji. So if you do an act with your mind and intention, then it gets amplified. For example, if you are killing an ant without your knowledge, compared to killing an ant by deriving pleasure from it, then these two acts have varying degrees of karmic penalties. And if you are going to distance yourself from the mind, saying that I am not the mind, my mind is separate, I am different, I am Atma, I have been eternal, and then in that case, astrology comes to an end at that point. The karmic baggage comes to an end. And that is reason why, till his enlightenment, both Buddha and Mahavira, I'm talking especially about Mahavira because I've read his life history, he was undergoing a lot of penances. Penances are devices to understand that you are not your mind. You're separating yourself from the mind. And he had to undergo a lot of hardships. The moment he achieved enlightenment, for him, the laws of the karmic world did not apply. And then it was a different set of a life. And then what happened when one of his lady disciples, she broke the rules. In those days, the rule was that after 6 p.m., the lady disciples should not be sitting in the sabha where the monks are discussing. And at that time, this lady, without her knowledge, she sat there. And due to guilt, because of a reprimand from the lady Acharya, she had a guilt feeling. And due to that extreme guilt feeling, she attained enlightenment.
Oh.
And the next day, when all the monks came in front of Mahavir, they did that Guru Vandana. They do this Vandana. This lady was standing straight. And then everyone started, without bending down. So everyone started admonishing her and telling her, why are you not saluting the precept, the prophet?
The Guru.
Guru. At that time, Mahavira said, let her be. She has attained enlightenment.
Correct.
That means the rules are changing. Once you go beyond the mind, karma doesn't cling to you.
Yes.
So when you asked me the question, when you asked us the question, I was waiting for the topic to come to a conclusion. The real happiness comes when you're aware that you are not your mind. And the real baggage starts when you think that you and your mind are the same. When you don't have that feeling of separation, whatever act you do, it comes with a mindful intent. That is why they say, be mindful, but that is for reaching your ultimate human birth. To go beyond human birth, go beyond the mind.
In physics,
if you want happiness. Yeah,
Kishore, your mind has actually 4 layers to it.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
That was a bit advanced.
So,
I didn't want to go there.
They call the koshas.
Okay. Yeah, buddhi.
Yeah,
it is called buddhi, manas,
Yeah.
and ahankara and chitta.
Correct.
So that is the outcome of that is the way to achieve happiness, Guruji. If you want to achieve happiness, even from the astrological perspective, karmic perspective, astrology and karma are not separate; both are same. Astrology is a tool to read karma, right? So when we talk about karma, how do you overcome the karma? Whatever you have earned, as you said rightly, a negative bank balance will not give you enlightenment. Positive bank balance can allow you to use that as a fuel to reach enlightenment. That ability to overcome your impulsive thinking, for example, standing in the hot sun without running away from that, thinking that this is not you, this is not your body, you are not your body, you are not your mind. And then you reach that state of Kaivalya Jnana, where only pure knowledge remains. You are not the body. So when you go with that awareness, you cross awareness. You go beyond that awareness. And that is when you reach zero impact. There is no karmic impact on you. And to get that is very difficult, especially in this lifespan. It seems it's as the yugas keep progressing, it becomes very difficult because of distractions, I think.
No, I think the distractions were always through all the yugas. It is not so easy at any point in time.
And there was another.
Guruji, Parashara's son Veda Vyasa said that Kali Yuga is the easiest place where you can get moksha. But even a single minute, you won't be.
That is the reason
you won't get the opportunity.
Yes. That is why they started using the eclipses. That was given as one of the times when the mantras become very powerful.
One of the reasons why Kali Yuga could be where it is the easiest to get moksha. Can anybody come up with one idea? Why would we say that in Kali Yuga it is even more? It's a lot easier than ever before.
There is one reason which is very, very advanced, Guruji, and that is because of it is connected with the Big Bang theory. But I'll come to that later.
Make it simple.
Very simple is that there is a lot of dark matter that is growing because the universe is expanding. As the universe expands, the planetary bodies are changing their positions, and because of the change of positions, the grip becomes more. It is difficult to escape from that.
Okay,
in those days, Guruji, it was said that people could manifest just by desiring something. There was this Kalpa Ruksha and Akshaya Patra, like that, Kalpa Riksha. And Kalpa Riksha was desire fulfilling, Kamedenu. It was there on those yugas and those days. I mean, it is there. It's there as a myth or whatever you may call it. But nowadays, nothing of that sort is there. And that could be because of the change of planetary positions, the distances.
There is this like in other yugas, they say in Krita Yuga, humans lived in earth and this asuras lived in some other world. Then in Treta Yuga, they came to same planet, but other world, Rama and Ravana as a different part. In Dwapara, they were in the same family. And in Kali Yuga, it is said that the demon is within ourselves. So it becomes very difficult to actually come out of that demonic nature, like giving up that demonic mindset.
There's Guruji, so much of suffering in the world that there is more opportunity right now, right, to help and to actually evolve ourselves.
Because when the suffering increases, the Atma also will not keep quiet. It will try to figure out what's happening. And there is a greater chance to get moksha, because even in the Bible, we have a chapter, Ecclesiastes, where it says everybody will get moksha in the end. That means by default, it should happen. There is no other way to end the cycle except through moksha. So which means it should be at the end. So at the end is what we have is Kali Yuga. So of course we can argue about this, but okay, before ending, I would like to show you something. Maybe I was in 7th standard when this poem came up in our English class. And there are a few things that I remember from my school days. One of them was this. I was fascinated with this poem for a long time, not knowing that one day in the future, I'm only going to spend time contemplating on Saturn. I didn't know that. Okay. I'm going to show you that. Some of you might have already gone through this. This poem is by James Shirley. Okay. So which planet is this about from my point of view? You can guess it is Saturn. Okay. Death, the leveler. Are you able to see this screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Guru.
Okay. So we have lots of these things, and starts like this: the glories of our birth and state. State is your status. Okay. Our shadows, not substantial things. There is no armor against fate. There's no bulletproofing. Death lays his icy hands on king. Today, after learning astrology, I know icy hands is actually Saturn, and death is also Saturn. The glories of our birth and state. I was thinking about this poem for nearly a month when it was first discussed in class. Death lays his icy hands on kings. Scepter and crown must tumble down. I mean, those who know how to read a poem, they can read it better than me. And in the dust be equal made with the poor crooked scythe and spade. And in the dust be equal made with what? With the crooked scythe. I hope you know what is a scythe, right? It is be a knife like this. Later I'll show you the connection. And spade. Some men with
scythe is Manveti, right? Right,
It's not exactly that Manveti. It'll be like, it'll go like this. They used to,
like the reapers.
Reaping, they'll just scrape the thing. It'll come off like grass or harvest and the things. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It is a special type. Even now people are using that. That's the best part. Now it's got replaced with so many other things. Like a tractor does that. Some men with swords reap the field and plant fresh laurels when they kill, where they kill. Understand, I'm victorious, Alexander the Great. I killed everybody. But their strong nerves at last must yield. They tame, but one another still. Early or late, they stoop to fate. That means ending, and must give up their murmuring breath when they, pale captives, creep to death. The garlands wither on your brow, then boast no more your mighty deeds. Upon death's purple altar now, see where the victim bleeds. That is, the victim bleeds. Now he is the victim, who was once a victor. All heads must come to the cold tomb. Only the actions of the just smell sweet and blossom in the dust. Of course, this is about in the blossom in the dust is rebirth, but he's not explicitly mentioning it. So now, 1 second. You see this Saturn symbol. Remember, this is Saturn symbol. This is a shortcut the Westerners used to, they won't write Saturn, they'll write, but this is the scythe. And this is the one, the scythe.
That's even the Yamraj in like West.
Yeah, almost. Yeah,
right?
almost.
What the Reaper holds.
Yeah. Almost like that. Okay.
So in Tamil we call it Arwal.
Arwal. Oh, is that? No. It's not Arwal. It is a long something, and then you pull it like this. It's not
It is
exactly.
used by gardeners actually, Guruji.
Yeah, gardeners.
Sir, even in Germany,
like
they will decorate their homes with this one, sir.
I see.
Because
Okay.
they used it once, so they will decorate their houses.
Yeah. So sometimes I used to. So sometimes I used to see all these people of might, greatness, and I'm the richest. I mean, I'm the richest. I'm the greatest. All these people coming, bad luck in Sade Sati, in 7.5 years Saturn, they will meet with their failures. Most of them were too egoistic about success and all of that. So, but I was fascinated with this poem, not from, those days I know nothing of astrology, but I was already getting inclined towards understanding life. So this was the only poem I remember in school. Or anything that maybe I was using later in life, I used to look at these lines.
Guruji, this is karma pushing you in that direction.
Yeah. So you can see the kind of, even the symbol, if you see that scythe, I showed you that Saturn symbol. All of this is so, and in between somebody mentioned this is similar to something that Yama carries. I don't know whether that is true or not.
So Guruji, I don't know if I can share, but it's the Reaper. Like how we have Yamraj, Westerners have Reaper, which represents death, and they carry the scythe. Right?
Oh, is it something to do with what is that? We have a nice Nicolas Cage one movie, where what is that?
Yes.
You goes on
Ghost
killing.
Rider.
Ghost Rider. Yeah.
Yes.
What did he say? How do I type in the Google Reaper?
I've posted.
You want to share? You want to share?
Yeah, I can share it also. Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, even in the film Aparachitudu, the hero uses this one, sir. To punish.
You see this one.
Yes.
So this, of course, this is in a different way, but I used to think that that shape of Saturn, the Grim Reaper. Okay.
This is basically the equivalent of Yamraj in Western. Okay. So in Halloween, a lot of people will dress like this at Halloween.
It's more like Mrityu, not Yamraj.
Okay.
Mrityu takes death.
You're right. Yes. Is Yamraj not that? I thought he was the elder. Saturn is elder brother of Yamraj, right?
See, Yamraj is a judge. Dharmaraja, he's a judge.
Okay.
The one who takes the life is actually the god of death. That's Mrityu.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, but in the movies they show differently, right? Yama himself is coming down to. He is right. It's only the judgment. I think the judgment thing is there in Christian story also. No, I think everybody believes, even the Muslims and Christians, they believe in Judgment Day. There's always a judgment, and that's why Saturn is exalted in Tula Rashi, because the sign of judgment, the weighing balance. So I saw some movies which was titled as The Equalizer, and so on, right? So we have some movies where it is all about justice. Anyway, so whatever, when you do something fulfilling justice, being fair, all that I think should lead to happiness. So in giving, there is a lot of happiness, but people had different opinion about giving. So if you give with ulterior motive to somebody, maybe there could be consequences. But if you give selflessly to people in need of it, I think that's surely going to pay way for good karma, which eventually will lead us to happiness. Because unhappiness comes because of the opposite of that. Because you steal, because you took away. You look at Ravana taking away Sita, and then his life and his kingdom, everything is gone. So the opposite should be for happiness. Giving should be happiness, and praying should be happiness. And so with all this, you create good karma. Somebody spoke about satsang. Better be with good people, in the company of good people. You become good. Do you know any story about if in the company of good, you will be, you'll be much better off? Any nice story? Anyone?
And so many, Guruji, but I'm trying to think of a celebrity story.
Okay. So I think in Patreon, did I talk about a thief who went to the palace to steal? In Patreon, did I tell the story?
No.
Remember? No. So this guy goes to the palace to steal. He's an expert. Consider him like not Sawa. So he gets in somehow. And then when he's very close to where the gold is, he overhears the king and the queen, discussing something. And it's all about the upcoming marriage of their wonderful daughter. And so the king tells the queen, I don't believe these guys. They're all bad. This prince of that kingdom, they're all selfish fellows. I want to marry her to a saint. And because he doesn't want anything. So he'll be very truthful. And I'm going to select somebody, and I'm going to search for them. Search for the ideal person to be my daughter's husband. And he says, I'm going to start off with this place first. On the banks of this river, I'm going to go there and check it out. And so the king changes the thief changes his mind and says, okay, now I'll get only little gold. But if I become, I disguise myself as a saint and sit along with others on the bank, there's a great chance that I may get selected. What if I get selected? I'll get the entire kingdom. So that's a better thing. And then he dresses up like a saint, and he learns a little bit of how to do it. And then he also sits there, and he looks very calm and quiet. As he sat there, the king came as discussed. He came, and he was bending down, talking to each one of them and giving them huge gifts. And then slowly he finally reached this guy. There the king bent down in front of him and gave him this, and please take this. And he looked at him, and then he went to the next, and he didn't make any conclusion. But this man suddenly felt different. Oh my God, this is such a lovely, thing. When I am a saint, even the king is bowing down to me, and it feels so nice here. How nice it is. And then he stayed there a little longer and became a saint. Okay. This is the power of satsang. One of the stories that impressed me a long time back. Did you like the story?
Yes, Guruji.
Wonderful, Gurudev. There's another story, Guruji, about similar concept. Thief comes to steal, and on the way he has to pass through a hermitage. Like on the way there is an ashram. So he hears the Gurudev in that ashram telling his students that, Indras and the Devas, they don't walk, they just float. So he just overhears that much, and then he goes to steal, and then he does the stealing, but everyone knows who has stolen. So they somehow want him to confess. So what they do is they catch hold of him and they make him unconscious somehow. And then when he wakes up, they pretend as if he's in heaven. So they'll be dressed up like Indras and the Devas, and then they will say, okay, now your judgment time has come. Tell the truth, right? Tell me about whatever you have done. Have you stolen something? Have you done bad things, good things? And suddenly he remembers that one line that, they don't have feet. They will just float. Why are these guys walking? This is a trap. So then he does not say it. He gets it and he does not say it. And then the king goes to the same Gurudev and says, okay, we got him. He didn't get that. And he said this thing that, Devas will be floating. And Gurudev remembers, okay. So it means he must have heard me saying it, because this is what I told the other day.
Okay.
So he says the only way to, just send him to me and let him listen to me somehow, like make some way that he listens to me, my sermons here and there, and slowly he'll come to the right path. So that's what happens eventually. But just one line of his saves his whole life and, gets him out of prison.
One line from the Guru. Okay. So we conclude by saying the same old thing, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya is the way to success and happiness. Okay. So thank you all. So let's...
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Wonderful time.
Happiness is this satsang, Guruji.
Tomorrow
that is what happiness is.
and the day after.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Guruji.
So where is our countdown person? He's still there. Okay. Yes, Prahlad.
-3, 2, 1, 0.